And a full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
Over the last number of years, we have automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Iowa.
We're going to have to consider new ways of thinking about these problems, like a universal income.
The last Asian American to run for president in the United States was Hiram Fong. His 1964 bid for the job was wildly unsuccessful, with many constituents citing that he didn't seem loyal to the nation. Over 50 years later, Andrew Yang is running for the same office, but we had to consult some professors to see if he even had a shot.
I had not heard of Andrew Yang prior to talking with you, and yes, I do think it's certainly possible for an Asian American to win a U.S. presidential election.
I hadn't actually heard of Andrew Yang before I prepared for this interview, but I don't think that there's any reason why an Asian American couldn't win. I think that Asian Americans have joined the mainstream.
I grew up in upstate New York and then went to some of the schools that you all went to, and I never imagined I would be running for president. I was certainly not some crazy kid being like, I'm going to be president one day. So if any of you are thinking that, like, you're more advanced than I was. Like, I was playing video games and just doing whatever Asian kids do in upstate New York. So I came to this town, Washington, D.C., and I said, what are we going to do? He said to me, this official said to me, Andrew, you're in the wrong town. No one in this town is going to do anything about the problems that you described, because this town is a town of followers, not leaders.
However, it is expected that because of the turbulence of the Trump election, a new opportunity has arisen for minorities to consider running for office.
The turbulence of the Trump election has broadened the diversity pool as people look for refuge from his administration in any kind of candidate, even someone who describes themselves like this.
A very, very data-driven man. The opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math.
Oh!
The rise of automation is quickly depleting America's industrial sector, and our country is far behind in planning for this shift in technology. Factory workers, truck drivers, and tractor operators currently form the largest constituency in the American working class, but their jobs are projected to disappear in less than a decade. By 2028, their industry will be entirely replaced by the advanced algorithms being rigorously developed by Uber and Ford. Without work in industrial production, blue-collar American workers will be unable to transition their manual labor skills into a white-collar lifestyle. According to McKinsey & Company, the top consulting firm in the country, it is predicted that by the year 2030, a third of jobs in the United States will be automated away. However, Professor Fullenkamp raised some questions on this statistic.
Well, it's funny that you raised the issue of truck drivers, because there's currently a big shortage of truck drivers in the U.S. economy. And it's not clear that trucking companies have responded to that by automating.
Researchers at Oxford University's Martin School estimate that 47% of jobs may be lost in the next 20 years. This has led to a spike of uncertainty and a desperate scramble for solutions.
So it's an idea where every citizen of a society gets a certain amount of money or resources free and clear to do whatever you want to meet your basic
Regardless
needs.
of your income.
Regardless of your income.
I think that a universal basic income plan is certainly worth thinking about if we really believe that that human labor is just not going to be necessary in the future economy. I'm just skeptical about that basic premise, that even if the types of current jobs that people have are going to be outmoded or phased out or lost, that there won't be new types of jobs created that can be incredibly different from today, and maybe revolve around the idea of serving other human beings. I think at the end of the day, people have a need for some kind of productive activity.
Although Connell Fullenkamp questioned the economic effects of the Freedom Dividend and the need for it, he thought that Andrew Yang's plan for funding was viable and is the correct way to fund such a plan, showing that Andrew Yang has clearly done his research.
I've only watched a little bit of his videos, and he certainly seems like a reasonable person who definitely believes that, feels compelled to try to use policy to make people's lives better, and wants to be in charge so that he can do that. And I respect that.
In such a large rift between Republicans and Democrats, it is unusual to hear one side compliment the other side candidate, and Professor Fullenkamp, deeply conservative, was convinced of Andrew Yang's purpose and respected his campaign.
It's going to be a disaster for many, many American communities.
You're one of the only people I've ever met who's honest about the effects of deindustrialization.
No, I'm not assuming you're going to vote for him, but you agree with him on this point.
Well, I definitely vote for a candidate like that. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't know all of his views, but I can't think of many more people on either side who are thinking more deeply about what the actual problems are. Automation, by every estimate, will eliminate a huge percentage of jobs in the United States at exactly the moment when we're importing millions of new people every year to fill jobs that probably won't exist 3 years from now.
It would put pressure on jobs and actually focus on what is a worthwhile way of living. You know, like, I don't think most people would decide that they would, you know, there would be a happier life on heroin than it would be doing something productive in the community. But, you know, like, this is the kind of thing one has to decide, is working at McDonald's or at the gas station a more rewarded way of living than, you know, maybe, I don't know, working with your neighbors or starting art projects or learning a new language. I mean, there are a lot of things where you could have, I think it puts a little bit of pressure on what's a worthwhile life. And that seems to me much more valuable than trying to invent ways to save the capitalist economy.
When discussing the implications of a universal basic income, Duke University professor of literature and political science Michael Hart was particularly vocal regarding the improvements of the well-being of American citizens that could be seen with the UBI.
And in the U.S., I think that partly the discussion about universal basic income has become prominent because the structures of welfare have been so undermined since the 1990s.
Industrial and manual labor, Hart believes, is a sector of the job market that for most Americans yields minimal fulfillment. The crap jobs, as Hart refers to them, are disappearing with the spread of automation and impede the creative drive of the American people. UBI is not the only paradigm shift Yang is advocating for.
You are getting f***ed. And so if you want to help me you, then vote me into office.
I'm Andrew Yang. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm not a politician. I'm a problem solver.
Some people call me a futurist, and I say I'm a presentist. It's just that the other politicians are stuck in the past.
Right now, 57% of Americans can't afford an unexpected $500 bill. What happens when you put $1,000 a month into their hands? Where does that money go? They're going to spend it, right, in their local community.
Instead of GDP, we should be measuring childhood education rates, average income, mental health and freedom from substance abuse, environmental sustainability, the proportion of our elderly who can retire in quality circumstances. If we change the measurements, we can change everything. We spend twice as much as other industrialized countries on our healthcare than other countries because our system rewards activity and not helpfulness. And as president, I will move us towards Medicare for all and get the incentives right. Under my plan, every American adult will receive $1,000 a month on and on throughout the economy. So this plan, the $1,000 per month plan, was studied by the Roosevelt Institute, which projected that it would grow the economy by $2.5 trillion per year and would create 4.5 million new jobs. $12,000 a year is enough to push an American up to just about the poverty line, which is a little bit more than $12,000 per year. So there's all of the big, it's going to grow the economy, it's going to create millions of jobs, it's going to create all of these new businesses, which it totally will. So I'm with this trucker in Iowa, and he says to me, I don't think that Democrats care about people like me. And he says that to me while I'm in his truck. And I'm just like, I can understand why he feels that way, but that's incredibly destructive. Because there's a point at which Democratic Party used to be very, very heavily aligned
with working class Americans. The savings from robot trucks are estimated to be $168 billion a year. So I'm running for president in large part because I think we need to get in front of this set of problems. We have to say, look, if we're going to save $168 billion a year, maybe some of that should go to the truckers and give them a soft landing.
The fact is that you're actually worried about the little guy. You know, you're actually worried about the truck driver. You're actually worried about that man or lady answering the phone, or the fast food worker, that no one ever is going to get up on any kind of a political platform and talk about.
I'm going to talk about it.
And that says a lot about you. The fact that you even came out here with me today and you took time out of your schedule to drive around in a truck and meet truck drivers and walk around a truck stop just to see what it's like. They don't ever do that. And they just don't seem to remember that, hey, it's the little guy like us, the blue collar worker, that we built this country. And here you are sitting with me today and saying the stuff that you have said. I have to follow you now.
Oh, thank you, man. It is not an exaggeration at all to say that the future of the country rests in your hands